Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hello, I'm Scott Bogey from Combat Sports UK, here with James Dixon, ahead of his K-Warriors 181 fight against Qendrim Pallata. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very, very well. It's under 2 weeks to go now until fight night, so just raring to go. Yeah, I'm excited to finally get in there, have a good scrap, and then have a bit of time off over Christmas.
Exactly. And in your last fight, it was actually in a bare knuckle boxing fight against I think it's Mulberry. Was that just because you were struggling to find opponents in MMA?
Yes. So it was initially this. I was supposed to fight bare knuckle probably this time last year, and that was just because I wasn't getting any luck with the MMA. And then in bare knuckle, my opponent pulled out as well just before the fight, and I was left high and dry. So even then, I couldn't fight bare knuckle. But the opportunity presented itself this year. BKFC came to my home city, and it's always been on my bucket list. It's something I've always wanted to do. It is as real as it gets, fighting bare knuckle. And I'd love to give bare knuckle MMA a go at some point as well in the future. So, yeah, it was on my bucket list. The opportunity presented itself in my own home city. It was a no-brainer. I had to.
Exactly. And at least with that, you can still kind of take those skills into MMA because you are still using your hands in there as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you find, to be fair, historically, if you look at some of the most successful BKFC or any sort of bare knuckle boxing athlete, the MMA guys tend to excel in comparison to the boxers. Why that is, I don't know. Maybe because the money in boxing is higher, so the better athletes stay in boxing, or maybe it's because maybe we're used to having littler gloves. Who knows? But what we've seen is the MMA guys tend to be very successful in the bare knuckle. So yeah, it's a cracking sport to be involved in.
And that was the trend with you when you did get that knockout in the second round. How was it to get that knockout in your hometown?
To be truthful, it was very unsatisfying. So I mean, big love to Tom Albury. He's a great guy. I've had a good few chats with him since, and I really respect the guy. But he was taking the knee a lot. He was awkward as it was. So trying to find a clean shot was tricky. And then when I just about started to find where he was at, he'd be dropping and taking a knee. So he sort of stole my chance to put him away and make a conclusive ending to the fight. So it was definitely a little bit anticlimactic. I wanted a proper stoppage, a savage stoppage, but it was taken from me, unfortunately. So I do not like the idea of taking a knee, and I would love to see, BKFC maybe implement a rule set similar to karate combat, where you've got a time limit for consistent ground and pound on a downed opponent, and I think that would be very exciting, because then people can't play the game anymore of taking a knee.
Yeah. Exactly. And in your last fight in MMA, it was against Adam Horforth, where you were able to get the second round Kimura. How was that fight going?
Yeah, that was to be fair, exactly as how I visualized it. So Adam was a foot taller than me. He was 6'6". He was a big lad, and very well experienced. So I knew that he'd be wanting to utilize obviously his longer, rangier strikes, his teeps, his straight punches, and I knew that he had a little bit of submission skill as well. So that's pretty much what I encountered, and some of my best work is done against somebody who tries to jab me. I'll tend to look for the cross counter over it, or look to trade it with a low kick. So just him stylistically and mechanically, just sort of fell victim to my style. Styles make fights, and his was like the perfect jigsaw puzzle to mine.
And how do you see the style of Pallata facing you?
Mm. Vlad's an interesting one because I see him sort of similar to my style in some regards. In his amateur days, he seemed to have a good head kick. Not seen too much of that when he was since he's gone pro. Um, since he's gone pro, we just seem to see him be more of a boxer wrestler type
Yeah,
character. Um, but he does seem to have a pretty good jab. So I'll be obviously looking to take advantage of that and counter off it where I can. Um, and I'm confident in my grappling and my wrestling defense. So if he does look to get it grounded, I'll be ready in that aspect. So it's hard to predict a fight, especially
yeah.
someone against Pallata. He's definitely one of the most skilled people I've fought against. So yeah, I mean, we have to have a little bit of a ding dong and see what the crack is.
Exactly. And is this like a multi-fight deal that you signed with them, or is this like a one-fight deal so
Yeah,
far?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've got a multi-fight deal with Cage Warriors now.
And does that make it any better for you, knowing that you are going to be able to get these fights semi-consistent now?
Um, to be truthful, there's that pros and cons to it. Because I did want to, if I could have, dip myself back from bare knuckle and MMA. Similar to what Rico Franco had done bits and bobs before. I would have liked to have a few maybe MMA and still have the door open for BKFC. And then just see which one started to sort of gain more momentum. Gain
Yeah.
more traction. Um, Obviously, I'm not knocking it. I signed the multi-fight deal, and I'm happy to do that because, like you said, it sort of guarantees me fights. It guarantees me a future. Um, but no, I definitely would have liked whether it would be a multi-fight deal, but me allowed to fight bare knuckle, or even just a single fight deal where I can have a good relationship with Cage Warriors and a good relationship with BKFC and fight for them both. Um, but that's not how business works, unfortunately. And yeah, I'm just signed with Cage Warriors. So, like I said, pros and cons, pros and cons.
And when are you wanting to get back into the octagon after this fight? I know that they're in a fight in San Diego in December. However, that will be them shut down for the Christmas period. And they will mostly, I think it's March normally try and come back. I think it's March this year. Are you going to try and look to get on that first card, or are you looking for a wee bit longer?
It really depends. So I've got a few little niggles that are annoying me. Like I don't know if you can see, but my finger's a little bit buzzed up. This is actually from my bare knuckle fight. It's nothing serious, but I've got to get this fixed at some point so it doesn't become more of an issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a few niggles that I've got to look at. Obviously, I want to take some time off, spend it with my family. Something. I mean, I'm not old by any means. I'm 30 years old, but with my older years, let's say, I like to think I'm growing a little bit wiser, and I know that fighting it doesn't define me, and I need to enjoy life outside of fighting and build life outside of fighting as well. Is where I see a lot of fighters fall victim to. They believe the world revolves around them and their fight, but it don't work that way. So yeah, I've got to take some time out, spend it with my family, spend it with my girlfriend, and spend it with my dogs. Um, Enjoy life a little bit. Christmas period is all about this. And then after the Christmas period, um, I'll see what the crack is. I'll assess, see what sort of time frame we're looking at, speak to Cage Warriors, and go from there. So yeah, I'm keeping my doors open. I know I'm not a partier. I don't drink. I don't do anything silly like this. I just eat a lot of food. So it's not like I'm going to be too out of shape. I'm just going to probably be a little bit chunky. So yeah, it's not going to be too detrimental. Have a little bit of time out. I'm still going to be in the gym. My job is teaching full time. So yeah, well, I would be guessing March, April time, but never say never. We'll see.
And when you say your full-time job is teaching, do you mean like in general, or is it teaching MMA?
Yeah, teaching MMA. So I'm a full-time coach, so I train little kids. I train, hobbyists, people doing it just for a bit of fun. And I've got a fight team underneath me as well. Like we're closing out the year. I've got four of my fighters on Battle Arena, Northampton, and then three of my fighters on Almighty Fighting Championships, Coventry. So that is 1 week after mine, 30th of November.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the date exactly, maybe like 16th of December,
I
something
think
along these lines.
Almighty's in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've got my team fighting on these shows, and that's something I'm very much dedicated to, and something I'll always be dedicated to. So even when I take time out, I'll still be training. You know, whether it's just bro weights, and doing bits of grappling and pad work, as well as teaching. Like I said, I'm never off the gym, just sitting at home, you know, playing PlayStation and eating what's its. You know, I'm still in the gym teaching, doing some bicep kills. You know, it
Yeah.
is. So yeah.
And the teaching of MMA, that must help you in the long run because you're having to break down these techniques right to the start of it and be able to see different angles of stuff. And then you also have your students may even ask a question that you don't even know the answer to just now, but you have to go back, research it, and then you can, that's something to in that arsenal for you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you've took the words out of my mouth. It's something. I mean, I started teaching probably 12 years ago. I started helping out in the classes when I was about 18, and then probably started teaching my own classes when I was 20. You know, maybe one-to-ones. I can't remember exactly, but I've been teaching for 10 to 12 years now, and it's something I realized quite early on that yeah, Jesus, this really helps me understand techniques and the concepts of
Yeah.
fighting and martial arts step by step. Um, I've always had a good grasp of how to do things mechanically, how to move my body in a way for combat. Um, I'm a terrible athlete, always have been. I was always last at sports day. You know, I'm by no means a special athlete, you know, but fighting always made sense to me. And I've always worked hard at it. So, uh, yeah, it's just the way it is. And then with coaching, it's just definitely it's helped my fight IQ. There is no two ways about it. And a lot of that is down to obviously the hobbyists I teach, but also my fighters. I've got a great team of fighters underneath me that keep me on my toes. You know, I've got to constantly be delivering them good techniques, good tactics for them to keep expanding and progressing. You know, I've got fighters that want to be in the UFC one day, and I don't take they're trusting me lightly. You know, they're trusting me to get them to that platform, and that means a lot. So yeah, I take that job very seriously.
And where do you feel like you're going to be sat after you get this victory? That will be you on a free fight win streak in MMA with a 1-0 record in Cage Warriors. What do you feel like the next step is?
I mean, I don't really know the rankings in the Cage Warriors middleweight division. I definitely know middleweight isn't as deep as welterweight. So that being said, I would definitely think with a couple of wins underneath my belt, I'd be knocking on the door to a title contention. Because like you said, I'll be. Let's say I beat Pallata. I'm on a 3 fight win streak, 5-2 MMA, 1-0 bare knuckle as well. There's not many professional MMA fighters that are or have fought bare knuckle as well as MMA. So that's a selling point there. And yeah, say I get another win under my belt, 2-0 in Cage Warriors, 4 fight win streak. Definitely, I feel like I'd be close to a title contention, and ultimately that is what I want. A Cage Warriors belt would be very nice in my gym, and it would help my fighters realize the reality of their dreams. You know, and
Yeah.
you know it is very achievable for everybody. Like I said, I'm not a special athlete by any means. I never have been. So some of these kids underneath me that are special athletes and do work hard, like the sky's the limit for them.
And like you're saying, your gym, you've got it on just now, Lions Gym. How how has that been for your development?
Lions Gym, genuinely, I would not be the man I am without this gym. Um, I've said it before. It's everyone has a sob story, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like this is American culture, right? American culture tries to force it upon people to build their own sob story, for them to be, I don't know, to for them to have a character. I don't have a sob story. I grew up in a very normal family. I had a loving mum and dad. We didn't have a great amount of money. Working class family, but that's most people in the country. I had a great family unit. Two brothers and a sister. We all loved each other. Uh, but what terrified me is normality. If it wasn't for the gym, I'd probably be doing a normal 9 to 5. And in my earlier years, I worked the door, and this is when I started to see and realize the reality of normality and why it scared me so much. People working a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then they're that depressed with their life. They're going out Friday, Saturday on the sniff, on the drink to try and find some sort of meaning to their life, some sort of happiness, and then they repeat the process back to Monday. And it's just that's probably what I would be doing. If it wasn't for this gym, it wasn't for this sport, I'd most likely be in that depressing normality, without drive. And yeah, that I've got this gym to thank for this. It's given me a job, it's given me drive, it's given me everything, and it's not just me. There's been so many people within my community. We've got a lot of students that come over from university, both Coventry and Warwick, and they will message me even years after leaving the gym, saying how monumental the gym's been in their life. And yeah, like I was saying, I don't take my job lightly when it comes to my fighters. Neither do I when it comes to general population. This sport and this gym is life changing. I truly believe it. And Raj and his brother Manj, who opened it, I hope they understand, what they've created with Lions Gym. It's truly my home as well as many others. It's a special place, and it will always be special to me.
And how does it feel knowing that you are potentially on the best card so far of the year? I think you have on the card you have Charles Joyner, who is in contention for the light heavyweight title. You have three title fights: Kennedy Freeman, Harry Hardwick, and Hadj. Do you feel like that's going to bring the energy for this arena?
Yeah, exactly. From what I can tell, looking at ticket sales, it seems quite well sold, which is already great. Who doesn't
Yeah,
want a crowd there watching your fight? That's what we're here to do, right? We're prize fighters. If you didn't want to be fighting in front of a crowd, you just be fighting on the street. Just be fighting
yeah.
in the gym. So having a big crowd there is exactly what we want. And like you said, it's a great Cage Warriors card. I love the Hardwick brothers. It's fighters like this that I really look up to. Fighters that are clearly intelligent. Have clearly got their own personality and characters. They're not trying to be somebody else. They're being truly themselves. So yeah, to be sharing a card with one of the Hardwick brothers is, I'd be very happy with as well. They're great guys.
And like you were saying, you are into your 30s. Do you feel like the age for MMA is expanding? Obviously, the light heavyweight champion is 38. You then have got Bial, you have Panjoa, who are also in their 30s, being those UFC champions. Do you see like the age for an MMA fighter is growing older?
So I think this is where what people maybe think too basic about this. Like, yes, if you're looking at just the bare bones statistics, people older are becoming more successful. Um, Now that I believe that could have always been the case, just the training wasn't intelligent.
Yeah,
People are now starting to realize and how to train, how to look after their body, and how to be proper athletes. So with that in mind, if you from the beginning, this isn't just like bam, you hit 30 now that start training intelligently. You look after yourself from day dot. If you can look after yourself from day dot, as well as being genetically gifted. Some people, their body's just more resilient than others. Same with their mind. They're more motivated for a longer duration of time than others. So there's physical and mental components that need to fall into place as well as intelligent training from day dot. Then you can have a very long career. So with that being said, yeah, there's definitely evidence to suggest um, careers can last a long time. The reality is with me, I'm 30, my body is starting to hurt. I won't lie about it. And I definitely don't want to be a fighter where the choice to retire is almost taken from me.
yeah.
I will retire when I can retire. I don't want to be forced to retire. I'm seeing a lot of fighters with, you know, life-changing injuries, whether it's to their neck and they're getting it fused, whether it's to their knee and they're walking with a limp forever, or even worse, is it to their brain, and then they've got their slurring their words. This is something I never want to experience. I don't want to avoid as much as possible. And just the embarrassment of maybe just to throw a name out there like a Chuck Liddell style of end to an iconic career, having his retirement forced upon him. So that being said, I will withdraw myself from the game if I feel any of these things. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be fighting till 35. I'm going to be fighting till 36. I have no idea how long I'll be fighting for. It depends on how my body feels, my success and enjoyment in the cage, as well as my motivation to train. These will all dictate and determine as to how long I continue to fight. I know that obviously through the statistics, I know I could continue to fight and, achieve greatness within the sport late into the 30s, but we'll have to see if I can.
Yeah, and just like you were saying, like the Chuck Liddell, another name could be like Tony Ferguson. A few years ago, we were all saying he could probably beat Khabib. Now he's got the longest losing streak of the UFC. So is that just what you're trying to like meaning?
Exactly. It's how you can just ruin such a great career. And I can't, obviously, because I'm not in that position, but I would hate to try and have a mindset like that, where deep down you're such a great fighter, but you just can no longer perform at that
Yeah.
level. And you just can't call it a day, because fighting defines you as a person, unfortunately, and that happens to most fighters. And that's why, again, it's so important to have a life outside of fighting, so you can withdraw yourself from it if you have to. So that's something I'm recognizing and I'm trying to build upon. I understand fighting isn't James Dixon. I'm James Dixon. I like to fight.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I'm blessed to have my coaching, and I'm very passionate with my coaching. So when that time comes and I have to withdraw from the sport, I'll still be heavily invested in it. I'm a super fan, like I'm sure you are. I'm obsessed with the UFC. I'm obsessed with watching, domestic fights like Cage Warriors. So I'll always be involved with the sport, and that's where I'm blessed to have fighters and to be able to teach this great sport to individuals.
Well, thank you for coming on today. That was great. I'll let you have the final word. Is there anything else you're wanting to add or anyone you're wanting to shout out?
I mean, it's always pretty cliche, but of course, shouting everyone out at my gym, that goes from the children I teach, the hobbyists I teach, the fighters I teach, my training partners, my coaches. Everyone's a piece of the puzzle of this. Yeah. It's one man that fights within the cage, but it's the whole group of people that stand behind me, family and friends included, girlfriend included. This is all part of my success. So yeah, everyone who knows they need to be shouted out. You know what I mean? I'm a very appreciative person, and I like that. I hope they understand that I appreciate them. So yeah. That's about it, really. It's a long list of people, so I can't just go and name drop everyone. So yeah, I'll have to close it on that.
Well, that sounds great, and I wish you the best of luck.